In this video, we're going to quickly talk about how to make a map that's printable or publishable using some of the print tools in QGIS. To make a map in QGIS that we can print or publish, we're going to go ahead and use the new print layout, which you can see here, or you could hit Control P. And here, I'm going to call this mean centers, because those are the data I'm displaying. But we're going to give this a name, and this is going to launch a new window for us where we can start to populate this with data from the active map that I have going in the background. So the first thing we need to do is add an individual map to our layout here. So essentially we're looking at what would be a printed page, and so we can click here to add a map, and then we're simply going to depress the left mouse, drag and draw, and I'm going to get a map on screen that matches that map I had in the background. And we can make changes in the map window, and those will affect what happens in our map. So as one example, I'm going to change the symbology of one of the files, and when I refresh my map, you can see that new icon appears here, just as it did in the other map window. So we've got a link between what's going on in our map window and what's going on in our print layout. So any items that we have in the map window that can be changed will be updated here. Now let's go ahead and add a couple of other items that we'll need. I'm going to go ahead and add a scale bar. So again, add the item, drag and draw, and I'm going to get one by default, and then I can go in and start to make some changes. So for example, I'm going to select line ticks up. This is my preference, and here you can see I now have a new scale bar that's here in kilometers. I have a projection files for my individual shape files, so these distances match back to actual distances in meters or kilometers on the ground. And we can also add a legend. So again, if I just drag and drop here, and by default the names of these individual files are going to come from the name of the layers as they're actually stored. So in this case, these are shape files, and these are the shape file names. You can see here in my browser to the left, the individual names are here, and they correspond to what's in the legend. I can change the name of these text in the legend by editing it here in my print layout, or I can go over and change the name in the layers properties of the map window. If I simply double click on the name, I can change it here. So for example, this is a weighted mean center of CPUE. And now you can see that name change that just took place updates both here in the legend control box and here in the legend itself. Here we can put mean center traps, so then I know that's for traps. And then I can change this to study area, for example. So now I have a map with two major elements that are important. I have a scale bar, I can position this wherever I'd like, and I have a legend, and I can position this wherever I'd like. I can also insert a north arrow. So I'm going to go under Add Item, and this time I'm going to add a picture, and QGIS has a library that we can use. So if I come here to the item properties and I look under search directories, then we can see here I have a whole list of icons that I can choose from. So I'll choose north arrow. I don't really like that one, so I can just switch through until I find the one that I like. And so now I have a north arrow that I like. So there, in just a matter of moments, we were able to quickly go in, add a print layout, start to edit that print layout, and now we can work with this. We can also add additional maps here if we wanted to. If we wanted to add an inset map, we would simply add another map, and we could go and get that from another map window. And that would allow us to put an inset, and we'll work on that in later videos. The last thing I'll mention in this video is that if we go under Layout, we have the opportunity to export this as an image. So that would be as a PNG or as an image file, as an SVG, so as a vector graphic that you can make some more edits to in something like Inkscape, or we could export it as a PDF file. So you have the opportunity to export these maps and go do other things. So as a brief summary, when we're in our mapping window, we can open print layout. We can then come into the print layout. We can add a map. We can add individual map components and adjust those to our preference or to what's most important for the reader. And we can then export that as either an editable file or as an image or a PDF file. Good luck in map production and figure production.